What are y'all doing back? I didn't do enough in showing y'all how to disassemble a pool table? Wait, what? Oh, you want me to show you how to put it back together now? Oh, what the hell? Amy, they're saying they want me to help to show them how to put the pool table back together now. What the... Jeez. Fine. Cheap bastard, you. Taking food out of my mouth. You should be ashamed of yourself. Oh, so you want to do the pool table yourself, right? You've already disassembled it. You followed the guide. You already disassembled it. And now you want to take even more money out of my mouth. All right. Take even more money out of my wallet, let's say. Food out of my mouth. That's what I do for a living. Come on, man. All right, fine. Let's do the safety meeting again. Okay. Pool tables are hard work. It's difficult installing a pool table. If you're a little bitty scrawny guy, don't even think about it, okay? I'm 6'7", I weigh 250 pounds, and, I've been doing this for a long time. And, I got the upper body strength for this. Myself and my helper, we got the upper body strength for this, but it ain't easy. I'd venture to say that 99% or more of all the people that ever lay their hands on a pool table to move one, they never want to touch it again. They don't ever want to touch another pool table. So, just giving you fair warning. It ain't easy. Hopefully something that I'm telling you here will prevent you from getting hurt, hurting somebody's property, damaging property, or worse yet, somebody getting killed. Okay? Now that the safety meeting is out of the way, I'm still going to encourage you, hire a professional, because there's a reason why I get paid to do this. All right, well, let me show you how to do it. All right, so the very first thing you want to do is get in and sort all your hardware. If you've done like I've done and you've got a bag full of hardware, you got a big pile of mess right there on your hands. So sort all your hardware first. That way when you go to assemble the table, it's so much easier. Now after we're done sorting our hardware, we get busy and we start assembling the frame. This is pretty straightforward. I mean, assuming, you've got all of your parts laid out in a logical manner, everything goes together pretty quickly as far as the frame is concerned. We put our end pieces together, we put our leg brackets on, we go ahead and put our cross beams on and get everything bolted up, and make sure that the top of the table, the very top edge, is flush with the adjacent edge. So after we get the frame assembled, we go in and we put the legs on. Get one side, we'll get the other, and I just throw a bolt in the leg just to hold it in place, keep it from falling off the table, and then I come back afterwards and tighten everything up once I've squared the legs up to the table. Now once the frame is done, we'll go ahead and measure the room, take half the distance, and bring the middle of the table to that halfway mark. And we'll go back and forth on the table from one end to the other. Go back and forth about 3 or 4 times, because it seems as though every time that you go to move it, it just throws out the other side. So once we've got it centered in the room, we'll go ahead and level the length of the table. And this is just a rough end level, so that we start off with a level foundation. So we get the length done, we get the side done, and then once that's done, we'll go ahead and we'll start bringing in our slates. Now we're not looking to, screw the slates down right now. We're just getting them in place. And then I'll use a scratch awl after all 3 of them are in place. I use a scratch awl as a drift pin to line up our holes, and then throw the screws in, and only get like 1 or 2 little turns on the screws just to keep them from moving around. Now's not the time to tighten it down. So once we found our highest point on the table, or on the slates, we'll go in and we'll level everything off to that. So as you can see, my right hand side, your left hand side, was the high point, or was the low point. And anyway, everything gets leveled off to the highest point of the table. Get all 3 slates leveled out, break off our shims, our wedges, and I actually prefer to use Bondo. Once our slates are done, we'll go ahead, we'll Bondo our seams, and like I said, I prefer to use Bondo. Some technicians like to use plaster of Paris, which is what this table had on it before. I don't like it. It gets brittle. Other technicians like to use either beeswax or paraffin, and I'll address that later on. And once our Bondo is dry, we'll go ahead and shake out our cloth. Now this is old cloth. This cloth is about 13 years old, and the customer decided to have us install the cloth, that 13-year-old cloth, which in my opinion actually has long since outlived its expected lifespan. So we go around the table, lining everything back up, lining up our bolt holes. And I don't stretch, when I'm dealing with old cloth, I don't stretch the cloth any further than what it was, than what it was when it came off. It's a really bad idea to try to stretch that cloth any tighter. That's a good way to get it to rip. So once our cloth is installed, I guess I could have edited this a little bit better, but David goes in and he cleans up all the old staples from the pockets, and then we'll lay out our rails. Go ahead and start installing our pockets on our rails, and you can see we actually have the table, we've got the rails separated out into 2 different sides. We're gonna flip them in 2 halves, and this takes some coordination, because if one guy doesn't move quite fast enough, you could end up snapping the rails in half. So we get the rails put in place, line up our bolt holes, and then we'll go around and put our washers, our crown washers and nuts on. And then I'll use a 4-foot level to true up the side rails so that they're nice and straight, and then go in and tighten those up. Once that's done, now I like to use a string line and some duct tape, and I'll tape down a string line going from our middle diamond to middle diamond across the table, and then we'll go from our second diamond to the second diamond, and right there where those 2 points intersect, that's where we're going to put our spot. So that's where you're going to break. And it's a good idea to survey the room to make sure that the direction that they're going to break towards doesn't have anything that's going to get broken. So while I'm doing that, David goes around and staples up the undersides of the pockets. It only takes, with longer staple legs, it only takes a couple of staples per, I call them fingers, on the leather fingers that right up underneath. And then once we've got that, we'll double check our level side to side. Do a little minor adjustments with some very, very thin wooden shims. And once it's all done, the customer comes in and checks out the level on it, and she seemed quite pleased with this job. It actually came out very, very nice. Not bad for old cloth. Alright, so that's how you put together a pool table. Well, at least how I do it. There are some variants. There are other people that may do it a little bit differently, and I know I'll probably get some hate on this from other pool table mechanics that say, oh, you're not doing this the right way. You're not doing that the right way. Well, you know what? There's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay. Now, there's one way to disassemble a table. There are multiple ways of putting it back together. As I pointed out in the video, I'll give you just one example. The Bondo that I use to go between the slates, to fill in the gap between the slates. There are lots of different things that you can use to fill in that gap. You can use beeswax, you can use plaster of Paris, although I really despise plaster of Paris. You can use paraffin, you can use Bondo. I prefer Bondo for a number of reasons. Number one, it's not as brittle as plaster of Paris is. Bondo seems to expand and contract at a much better rate. I'm in Southeast Louisiana, and we have instances where we put pool tables in people's garages, and it gets pretty hot in the summertime. And the oils that are in wax can leach out. I've seen it before around here where you'll end up with a line right smack across the center of the table, actually two lines across the table where they use beeswax or they use paraffin. Another reason why I don't like to use paraffin or beeswax is that typically the way that you would melt it, you put it in a pot, something like a saucepan. You'd heat it up with a blowtorch until it melts. And I really just don't like the idea of having an open flame in my customer's house. If for whatever reason something goes wrong, you know what? I could end up starting a fire in their house. So I stick with things that tend to be a little bit more benign. The Bondo just happens to work perfectly, and I would strongly advise anybody out there, like I said, although you can use other things, you stick with the Bondo. Now, I'm going to put links down below to all of the tools that I use, Amazon links. I do get a small percentage off of the sales on Amazon, but I mean really small. You don't pay anything extra by going through the Amazon links, my Amazon links, as opposed to just going to Amazon and buying it. And they do tend to be the best price around. If you're an Amazon Prime member, most of the time you'll get free shipping. So I'll put links to a lot of the tools that I use, a lot of the supplies that I use, and if this is something that you decide you want to go for, doing your own pool table, or maybe you want to make a business out of it, hopefully some of the things that I'm showing you here will help you out and make things easier for you in the long run. As always, I'd like to thank everyone for watching the videos. And look, I will put a link down below to the extended cut of this. I'm going to post this video actually twice. One is this one, the condensed version, where it's edited for time constraints. And I will put up another video with it completely unedited. Those of you that like to torture yourself by watching somebody else work, well, you can see how exactly how the pool table goes together and how long it takes. I'm going to say roughly about an hour and 40 minutes to reinstall the table from start to finish. So if you want to watch that video, look down in the description below. Like I said, thank you for watching. And I do expect, if you go to the full-length video, I expect you to watch the whole thing. Just giving you fair warning here. So anyway, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to hear some comments from you if on either this video or the next video I didn't go over everything that or you thought that maybe you missed something. Write me a question down below. I take the time to answer everyone's questions. So we'll see you on the next video. Y'all take care.